Hello, lords and ladies of the realm. My name is Emily Sophia, and I'm going to be walking you guys through the latest episode of Game of Thrones. So spoiler alert, before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I will be bearing all in this review. And stick around for the very end because I do have an important channel announcement for you all, and I would love your contribution to that. So stick around, but we will actually get into the thick of the episode right here, right now. So I hope that all of you are reeling in the catharsis that I have been reeling in ever since last night, seeing this episode that could not have gone down more satisfyingly. I mean, I haven't felt as inclined to do a victory dance as I have, you know, or since the death of Joffrey, really. I'm pretty much amped up on life right now, despite the dire circumstances in which Tyrion continues to be. He's having it his way. He is going to get his justice, and you know, the court and the judges and the jury, and attempting to prove Tyrion's monstrousness. He flips the entire system on them, ultimately showing that they have proven their own, and the fact that they are painting Tyrion into this corner because he is a dwarf, because he is the imp. Clearly he has a proclivity for this kind of thing. Clearly he's the king-slaying kind. And to that, Tyrion says that he wishes he was. And I took notes of his entire speech, and I'll share with you some of the highlights, and then we'll go back through the episode in order, but I can't handle it. Peter Dinklage, what are you doing? Like, where is your Emmy? Come on, show us. I'm pretty sure that you just conjured one up out of the air just from in the process of delivering that performance. I do hope so. Y'all better get hooked up. We need at least a nomination for this guy. That was so stunningly, scathingly delivered. My brother, who reads the books, he hasn't watched the show with me consistently, but he did stick around and watch the end of that episode. He came into my room to tell me something, and then he just kind of stayed because I didn't want to stop watching the episode, and he didn't either. And I guess he said that they actually followed things pretty closely. I guess that in the books he did actually confess to killing Joffrey in that sense, but in this portrayal of that scene that we see in the episode, he goes about it a little bit differently, but I think that it still works to kind of the same end. So I'll share with you those highlights. So first, after Shay's gut-wrenching testimony in which he knows that it's over, that there is no way that he can get himself out of this. There's no way either that he can follow through with Jaime's plan that he arranged for with Tywin, to spare Tyrion by giving him a life in the Night's Watch. It's just not going to go down that way. Not anymore. She pretty much nailed, you know, last nail in the coffin. That was Shay's. And he knew. He absolutely knew. He could feel the revenge that she was taking on him, and he could feel the machinations of Cersei, and just that corner had never been so tight. So he comes out swinging. By no means is he going to take that sitting down. His is a Tyrion-sized retribution. And when we're talking size, we're not talking stature of body, but of mind, okay? So he says first to Tywin, "Father, I wish to confess. I wish to confess." And then he turns around to the rest of the court, and he says, "I saved you. I saved this city, all your worthless lives. I should have let Stannis kill you all." And that, like that was, I just felt my soul fusing right with his, and I was just like, take it away, buddy. And it gets better. And so then he turns back around on Tywin and he says, "Yes, father, I'm guilty. Guilty, is that what you want to hear?" Of course, Tywin in this process is trying to get a formal confession out of Tyrion so that they may proceed in an orderly manner. But of course, Tyrion replies, "No, of that I'm innocent. I'm guilty of a far more monstrous crime. I'm guilty of being a dwarf." And that just gets right straight down to the heart of the matter. He proceeds and says that he's been on trial for that his entire life. And that was an incredibly powerful moment, because that is a struggle that we have seen ongoing with Tyrion, in the way that he is viewed as subhuman for not having the shape of the common man. He has all the right parts, the soul, the intellect, the psyche, everything that arguably makes one human, and he is deprived of it in the eyes of his society. So then he goes on to say, when asked if he has no kind of defense to offer, he says, you know, "Nothing but this. I did not do it. I did not kill Joffrey, but I wish that I had. Watching your vicious bastard die," directing this to Cersei, "gave me more relief than 1,000 lying whores. I wish I was the monster you think I am," and this is again addressing everyone yet again. "I wish I had enough poison for the whole pack of you. I would gladly give my life to watch you all swallow it." And the crowd goes wild, the roaring and the atmosphere is on fire at this point. And finally he says, "I will not give my life for Joffrey's murder, as you should not, and I know that I'll get no justice here, so I'll let the gods decide my fate." And he says, in what is now one of my favorite quotes of the entire series, "I demand a trial by combat." Get wrecked, okay? There was no, again, like I said, there was no way that that could possibly have been better. And as much as I'm anxious for what exactly this, or how this trial is going to go forth now, with the combat introduced into the fray, I am just really satisfied, again, that Tyrion did not beg, and he's never been one to beg. He maintains his integrity to the very last. And despite the way that everyone that he has known coming forth again and again, testimony after testimony, taking the words that he said and perverting them, he's not even going to let that stamp out his spirit. And we see in the preview for next week that, of course, Jaime is just like, "Dude, I got this all worked out. It was going to be great and fine and dandy. And then you did the Tyrion thing." To which Tyrion says, you know, to have a little faith in him yet. And that excites me. You know, this is not the first time that Tyrion has encountered a trial by combat scenario. The last time it was at the Eyrie, and of course that was when Rom came forth and they sort of started their alliance with one another. But this time around, it's all Tyrion, man. At least as far as I can tell. I don't know. I have all the faith in the world in him. I have no faith in the writers of the show to keep him alive, because I love him so much, so I can feel them breathing down my neck, waiting for, you know, that moment where they're going to decimate my soul. So that's just the way of things. But at the same time, I'm really excited. I'm more excited than I am scared, simply because it was just a euphoric, victorious moment for those of us who love Tyrion and who despise most everyone else in that room. You know. Anyways, I will go ahead and walk back through some other parts of the episode, and then we will return to this scene one last time. But again, that was a tables turning moment if I ever saw it. You know, that's the next time you point a finger, I'm gonna have to bend it back and break it off. you know, Paramore style. He takes the mirror and shows it on them and like, look, the monstrousness that you see in me is yours. That is beautiful. That is freaking poetic business, okay? So let's go ahead and walk through everything else. We first got to see, of course, now Braavos is becoming a more prominent location in the storytelling universe, and we saw that first manifested in the slight little tweak in the intro segment where we get to see the Titan of Braavos statue. A very iconic image, to be sure, and they did a really fantastic job of portraying that mammoth monument in the episode. So Stannis and Davos are heading over to the bank, getting themselves a little loan for the purpose of building Stannis' bridge to the reclamation of his birthright. All that good jazz. And then, of course, once they arrive at the notorious Iron Bank, they encounter Mycroft Holmes, Sherlock Holmes' brother, at least the actor who plays him, who is playing the part of a bit of a cockblock. Words not coming to me today. Anyways, he's been a little bit of a cockblock to Stannis in his attempt to build himself up financially to claim the Iron Throne, and of course the coveted purse of the Iron Bank itself. So they have a fun little session which they're kind of exploring the options and why Stannis doesn't necessarily seem deserving of their investment, but of course Davos at the last minute before they are dismissed not only has them talk to the hand, but talk to the nubs, okay? And that's some powerful advertising there, okay? I have to say, you wonder what all the candidates or the contestants for the Iron Throne, how they would do their like advertising and campaigning and commercials. You know, I think that would be a fun parody to see. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it myself, because I have some ideas. But that was a very powerful moment, and of course Davos finally says, when Tywin's gone, who do you back? Because Tommen is on the throne right now, but again, he is still so juvenile and so green in the world of politics. And then of course Cersei, we don't talk about her. There's basically a lot of tomfoolery afoot at King's Landing. And Stannis definitely does make for himself a pretty powerful case as far as his right to getting there. So once Tywin's out of the picture, things could pretty much fall to chaos pretty dang fast. Not a lot of competency there, or those who are competent are lingering in the shadows, so they're not accounted for yet. We think of people like, for instance, Peter Baelish and Varys, again, who have both expressed their interest in supreme power. So there's that. But I thought that was a really fun scene, and again, looking forward to see what else we're going to witness in Braavos and what kind of a role that's going to play in the grand scheme of things. And then, of course, we go on to Theon, or rather Theon no more. We've only got Reek left. That was an incredibly powerful sequence as we see his sister, Yara, is on the freaking warpath to reclaim her brother, to uphold the name of the Ironborn. But ultimately, when they arrive at Ramsay's Keep and they find Theon, they do not so much as find Theon. They find the shadow of his former self. One so completely and utterly broken that there is no taking him anywhere, because all that was left of Theon has been systematically tested to fire and broken down, such that he can't even see himself as who he once was. He seems to have no memory whatsoever of any of his former life. And it makes these scenes so ridiculously tragic, because while Theon was kind of a total dingnut as far as his invasion of Winterfell was, and, you know, trying to create this sense of honor and feel like he's important in a family in which he's kind of marginalized. But all that leading to this is, you still can't help but feel absolutely terrible that a person could be so completely and utterly dehumanized and twisted into this tiny little lump, a little sliver of a person. He's ultimately become Ramsay's puppet. And so we see that very powerfully when Yara leaves and she says that her brother is dead. And then that scene is, of course, juxtaposed with Ramsay giving Reek a bath. And I mean, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, how many snakes are in the tub? Let's just get this out of the way. And you know, we can see that Reek himself has no concept anymore of what a bath even is. And every experience for him under the care of Ramsay is one that he goes into a trembling, and so would I. But in that process, of course, he asks Reek, do you love me? And, you know, how far are you willing to go for me? So we see the tip of the iceberg of Ramsay's scheme that is having Theon play a role in the reclamation of Winterfell by play acting as his former self. This guy, he belongs up there in the, as far as the hierarchy of complete and utter evil goes. I mean, I dare say this guy he stands quite a tall foot above the rest. You think of notorious iconic figures like the Joker and any other kind of anarchical figure of evil, and then there's Ramsay towering above all, swagging it up. That's just the way he is. So we'll see how that fun situation unfolds, shall we? And then that leads us, of course, to dragon time. It is the feasting time for the mother of dragons' babies in an incredibly powerful scene in which I thought, you know, I was surprised that the goat herd brought the bones of, it appeared to be the bones of one of his goats, but I thought that it would be the bones of the child that he brought to Dany in the throne room at Meereen. So I don't know if it was supposed to be a goat, or if, you know, I tried to kind of look at those charred remains because I was like, wow, that's a really powerful symbol, because here we have the epitome of justice and righteousness. That is Dany. And then she is the mother of this, well, 3 sources of complete and utter chaos in a world that thinks that they are past this particular brand of madness. But that was a friggin' iconic scene. Just a little dragon dipping in at the drive-thru. That's how you do it, you know. Cook your own food, take it out like Papa Murphy style. But yeah, so that scene gave us a little glimpse into how her little babies are doing. Not so much little no more. And clearly they are getting beyond her control, and she's at the point where she's willing to do damage control for them. You know, she's like the parent of that high status honors student, and you know, the other parents are like, your kid did this to my kids, and she's like, okay, we'll take care of it, we'll take care of it, they're my babies, it's cool, whatever. You know. But I continue to be really nervous for the fate of Dany and of her regime, because we see that she relishes the opportunity to bring justice. We see that she adores being the one who can restore people and restore them abundantly, as is evidenced in the fact that she promises that the goat herd will be reimbursed thrice what he had previously. And she's kind of got that, you know. Like, it makes you think of, she reminds me of young Simba from The Lion King. And say like Jorah or someone is Zazu, and it's that whole like, everybody look left, everybody look right, everywhere you look she's a standing spotlight. You know, it's that kind of thing. I can see it. So she goes from the I just can't wait to be queen to the realities thereof. Because so she goes from dealing with the goat herd, of course, to what was his name? Hizdar, I believe, whose father was one of the masters, but whom he reveals actually opposed the treatment of the children who were tortured and killed and put up on the signposts. He actually opposed that, and then he ended up paying for the crimes of everyone else. And so this is a glimpse into the fact that Dany, in her all-encompassing warpath to utter justice, to breaking chains, and to punishing those who enchained the slaves in the first place, that there are atrocities that have to be committed in that process. And I don't think that she wants to fully admit that to herself. I think that she has some understanding of her weaknesses, as was epitomized in the realization that the places that she had liberated were setting up their own tyrannical, dictatorial systems all over again. But it's slowly she's becoming more aware of what it is exactly to rule and what is required of her and what she cannot do. Because before, she had no limitations on her skies, you know, no such thing as sky's the limit. She was going to infinity and beyond, until she begins to realize that after this heart-wrenching encounter with Hizdar, there are hundreds of other supplicants that are waiting to come in and bring their all before the queen. And that is an immense burden that she has never fully understood before. Now that she is in a place where she is situated, she is established, and she has power, and this is to be, you know, a microcosm of her future reign, the one that she's pursuing on the Iron Throne. But there's a lot that's starting to come into perspective for her. And I hope that maybe soon she and Jorah will have another kind of discussion and breakdown of what exactly is transpiring. She is a incredibly proud woman. I think that she empathizes as much as she can. But there is a ceiling in this case. And her dragons do not fit within that ceiling. So soon she is going to be dealing not merely with hundreds but of thousands as her dragons go, you know, for the late night munchies. Like, they're starting to get beyond even her. So it's a crazy thing to watch unfold. And then ultimately this brings all of us back to the activity revolving around Tyrion's trial. Jaime is trying desperately to find some kind of way out for Tyrion because he doesn't want to be implicated in this process, in what's unfolding. So there's a meeting with Tywin and Cersei, Oberyn, Varys, and they're talking about the Khaleesi, and Cersei is belittling this child overseas, whereas Tywin criticizes her approach, and he's like, well, this just might potentially call for some war, woman, so let's be sure to get Varys' little birds even further out into the world, because they've got something else coming. So there's just these hints and shades of the coming of the Khaleesi, but we're getting there. Things are heating right up. I have to say that I also really liked the conversation between Varys and Oberyn in the throne room, in which Varys reveals that in the absence of desire, one is free to pursue other things, and then cue his gaze locked right on the throne there. And I think it's so fascinating because Oberyn is very much all about desire. So to see these two men that kind of come from opposite ends of the spectrum, but who both definitely have their own agendas, I think that that's kind of the area in which they bond. So, of course, we can talk too about the testimonies that are made against Tyrion, that of the Grand Maester, of Cersei, of Varys, and Tyrion is even accused of siding with the Northerners. Of course, Sansa is still kind of an element in this whole scheme, and I hope that she's doing okay. She's got some stuff going on. And yeah, just lots and lots and lots of tension. And in the break, in the middle of the trial in which Jaime and Tywin talk, it's this kind of like, you remember that rap song, like Fort Minor, Remember the Name? And Jaime's trying to tell Tywin that, like, you know, what are you going to do with your legacy in this process? Does it not matter to you anymore? And he actually says that he would go and leave the King's Guard and take his rightful place at Casterly Rock. And he's making this whole ridiculous arrangement, and now everything is blown out of the water because Tyrion is far too awesome for anyone's scheme. He's gonna do it his way. And I dare say that is the way that I would want more than anything else. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. If there's anything that I missed in this review, please do touch on it. And finally, I would like to say that for the future of my channel, I'm thinking now that I'm graduated and that's all finished, I would like to start doing weekly song parodies of like the shows that I review and things of that nature. So I would love to hear you guys' suggestions for that. Basically, I'd just be writing songs and, you know, singing in character or whatever else, just something I want to play with. I haven't done tons of comedy on this channel, but I'd like to get into it. So help me out there, and yeah, leave your thoughts, reactions, predictions, any and all things. There are lots of great moments to recap, so thank you guys yet again for being as fantastic as you are. Go Team Tyrion. We'll stick around for next week and see how the madness unfolds from there, okay? You guys be wonderful, and I promise you that I will be back before you know it.